Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, you wonderful dice of all alignments. I am your tsundere Let's Player, Lunar D8. This is Umineko. It's a very long, very good story. Don't worry. The closed room barrier on this study is perfect. As long as the barrier remains unbroken, no one will be able to expose Kinzo's secret. Yes, I understand. Still, you heard that conversation in the parlor just now, didn't you? Indeed. It seems that some considerable suspicions were aroused last year. The terrible toxin has accumulated and is being spread all around. It seems this year's conference really will be crucial. We might be able to overcome this year somehow, but there is no such thing. There is such a thing as pushing our luck. It's probably best to assume that next year won't be manageable. With this much of the magic-resisting toxin filling up the place, it will probably be difficult to preserve Lord Goldsmith's magic for yet another family conference. Who are you? Oh, no need to be surprised. This man serves as my head furniture. Greetings, Madam Natsui. My name is Renove. It is a pleasure to meet you. This man's reliable. He's also helping to protect the closed room barrier. Is that so? I'm Ushiromiya Natsui. I thank you for your cooperation. Of course, madam. I will be aiding you from the magic world. Please rely on me. In that case, I guess I'll introduce myself next. Hi, Riche. Long time no see. Ah, Gape. I'm glad to see you're here as well. Well, I only came to have some fun. If you need an extra hand, let me know. Nice to meet you, madam. Lunar should have brought a drink. Where's Pepsi when I need it? This is the first time I've said hello, but I'm always right by anyone's side. Poo-cuckoo, Gape here is quite the prankster. Remember the headache medicine you dropped on the floor of your room and lost as you were getting dressed? Gape was the one behind that. Whenever you set something small down somewhere but can't find it later, it's always a good idea to suspect that it's one of her pranks. Long ago, she used to tease me all the time. Is that so? In any event, this is the Ushiromiya mansion. As long as you are here, you will obey us. You understand, correct? Of course, we understand. Think of me as Genji of the magic world, and give me orders whenever you wish. And even I know how a guest is supposed to act. I won't let the landlord lose face. You can count on Renove and Gape. However, the magic world and the human world are two different sides of the same coin. I understand. Of course, I would do all I can in the human world. Let's work together and protect Father's secret. Indeed. You guys ever hear of an anime called Madoka Box? I've talked about that anime a bit before. There's also an anime called Revenge of the Bravest, the strongest brave who craves revenge. Main character, that one's Raoul Evans. It's like redo of a healer, but more violent and more depraved. That being said, I remember using a picture from that at one point as a thumbnail backdrop for one of the videos I made of, I don't know, an encouragement type theme. I think I've made about a dozen of those, where it's just me trying to say things encouraging to everyone else. I'll try to find the one that actually uses the picture of Raoul Evans, but I've used ones that used pictures of like Jack Hanma and Hajime no Ippo and other characters like that. But yeah, I think I've made a couple that might have actually had Raoul Evans with it. I'll find those and I'll put those in the description. Though I don't know how much benefit it is hearing words of encouragement from someone who's a failure. But hey, I wanted to think of something positive to say there. I couldn't think of anything. There is nothing positive. Just some loser otaku trying to tell you guys to believe in yourselves and keep trying and do your best you can. But back to the story. Indeed. This happens every time. Heck, I think I'll use a variation of that kind of picture for this thumbnail, maybe for the next few thumbnails, in fact. Looks like we won't get anywhere until the next day. Well, sure, October 4th is like prep turn for me. If you don't feel like doing anything, why don't you just sit around until October 5th? I'll call you after the first 6 die. Of course, that was an incredibly irritating way to put it. The fight won't start until the crime occurs. However, waiting for the crimes to start would mean turning a blind eye towards the murders the first twilight. Ideally, we should try to find a way to prevent the first 6 murders. In other words, it would be the same as being content with the fact that 6 people would die. Did you know? They say that in chess, the player who moves first is twice as likely to win, although that can change as the tactics of the match progress. Don't they say that the second player has as much better chance at a draw? Even I know the phrase, the first to strike wins. So, what are you trying to say? Piff giggle. This is why you're so incompetent. Seriously. Are you listening, Battler? She has a cattail. And again, I still say, Kairi looks like Ivy from Soul Calibur 2, the fighting game for the PlayStation 2. She also looks like Kaoru Nagisa, or Kaoru from Evangelion. Also looks like Sare, the VTuber. But yeah, she looks like the character Ivy from the PS2 game Soul Calibur 2. Are you listening, Battler? There do exist puzzles that can be solved even on October 4th. I would like to see a version of Frederica Bernkastel that's, I don't know, happy. Eyes that look, I don't know, more alive and less depressed. Just like a... And not, no, I don't mean like, oh, just Rika Frude. No, like, no, not Rika Frude. Actually, Frederica Bernkastel, but happy in a not creepy way. Happy in a, I don't know, lovable and doting way. Know which one I mean? You don't mean, no, but, heh heh heh. Well, watch and see Battler the incompetent giggle. I have a general idea what these witches are talking about. I've tried solving it several times myself in the past, but I still haven't found anything resembling an answer. On the contrary, I still can't even understand why that puzzle exists. That's right. The reason it exists Why did Beato prepare a puzzle like this in the first place? We all discussed it together from time to time in the past games. However, I've started to avoid thinking about it under the assumption that there's no point in trying to solve a riddle that can't be solved. This time, I should change my viewpoint. I shouldn't just focus on the surface level stuff, like the truth of the riddle and how to solve it. What's more important is why that riddle was set up in the first place and displayed for us to see. That's what I should be thinking about. And the one proposing that riddle is Beatrice, the epitaph of Twilight. Yes, I'm making a reference to Dot Hack Sign. Dot Hack Sign's a great anime. So is Serial Lane Experiments. So is the game Dot Hack Infection, the OVAs that came with it, Luminality. Heck, we're getting a new Dot Hack game, Dot Hack Zero, in the next year and a half or so. Aura will be in that one too. Heck, Ghost in the Shell, Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040, Slayers. Honestly, I could keep going forever and ever if I keep telling you guys animes to watch. Even if I can't solve it, I should be able to try and figure out what Beato was thinking when she showed it to us. Okay, this time I'm spinning the chessboard around. The witches keep calling me incompetent. Let them laugh. They aren't my enemies. I'm continuing our match, Beato. The next episode hopefully will have less coughing. Oh, looks like it's finally started raining. Dang, wish the only downpour was the one inside my heart. The people in the parlor noticed the raindrops that were starting to drip down the window. Now we have nowhere to run until the family conference ends. The same thing goes for Nissan. I won't let them escape, you can be sure of that. The cards we're holding aren't bad, Nissan's just bluffing. I'll make certain he surrenders. Well, there's more to a deal than making your opponent lose. You've got to get a pitfall ready, praise them a bit, and convince them to stand on it of their own accord. Hideyoshi-san's right. We pressed them a bit too hard last time, Ava-ne-san. That was perfectly reasonable considering it's Nissan we're dealing with. Heh, looks like Rose has fallen asleep. She was complaining about how early she woke up this morning. Well, guess there's nothing wrong with taking a nap. There's a chance we might be forced to spend all night on this. Getting a nap now is probably a smart idea. Out of consideration for Rosa, who'd fallen asleep on a sofa, the others quietly left the parlor. Unaware of this, Rosa slept. After telling Maria to stay just where she was, after that tantrum over not being able to find her Rose, Rosa slept unaware that the rain had started to fall. The rain poured down as though it had been saving up for this moment. Of course, Maria noticed that the rain had started falling and was soaking her to the bone. However, that just made her even more stubborn. Unable to find the poor, slightly unhealthy Rose that she herself had marked, she just couldn't stand having that search be interrupted by something like the rain. So, the more the rain fell on Maria, the more stubborn she grew, as she wandered through the rose beds, and as she did, from behind Maria's back came a patter-patter. The sound of approaching footsteps. Then the footsteps landed in a puddle, making a small splashing sound, and Maria finally heard. However, even the slightest destruction of that sound irritated her, and Maria ignored it. Hello? Exclamations. Maria turned around, bewildered. After all, that voice was one she didn't recognize at all. On this sealed-off Rokkenjima, that voice belonged to no person she knew. You are not alone. Something's different this time. Kraus-sama, madam, I was looking for you. Something important has come up. Kraus and Natsui had been privately discussing what should be done next in a deserted corridor on the 3rd floor. Genji had searched everywhere for them. What is it? It must be something more urgent than a few sheets getting soaked in the rain. What is it? Has some sort of blunder been made? A short while ago, someone arrived at the mansion, claiming to have drifted here after an accident at sea. Kraus and Natsui couldn't help but go wide-eyed and stare at each other. This was the first time they had ever heard of someone coming to this island uninvited. Someone drifted here? Is that true? The poor thing. Treat this person politely, like a guest. What are they doing now? Dr. Nanjo is performing an examination. He hasn't finished yet, but from what I could tell by looking, the drifter seemed tired but uninjured. Thank goodness. Natsui and I are having an important conversation right now. When it's over, we will go to check on this person. Please tell this drifter that we want them to feel at home. Certainly. When Genji bowed deeply and started to leave, Natsui called him to stop. Genji stopped walking and Natsui jogged up to him. Genji? Is this drifter a man? No. She is a young woman about the same age as Milady. A young woman? Okay, so this person's like 18 or 19 years old. Okay. A woman? I see. Very well, back to your work. The parlor of the mansion was bustling. The adults gathered worrying about the health of this sudden guest. Well, if she was able to walk all the way to the rose garden by herself, her life probably isn't in any danger. It always helps to be prepared. It's probably all thanks to the life jacket. Without that, she might have drowned. What kind of girl was she, older or younger than George or Jessica? She was younger than Jessica. Okay, so 18. She wore a life jacket and swimsuit. It looked like she was all tired out. If she washed up somewhere near the harbor, that must have been a rare bit of luck mid-disaster. It would have been terrible if she'd landed on the opposite side of the island. Still, you have to feel sorry for her. With this weather, the boats won't be coming. I imagine she'll also be stuck on this island all day tomorrow. At that moment, the door clunked open and everyone looked in that direction. Would anyone like some tea? It was Goda and Cannon, with the latter pushing a serving cart laden with a tea set. Goda understood what that doing a little extra at times like this would earn him points. The relatives hungry for information crowded around Goda. He ordered Cannon to serve the tea and became the sole object of the relatives' attention. Goda-san, how's that kid doing? Does it look like she's okay? Oh, well, I don't know about that. But there is no need to worry. Dr. Nanjo is giving his full attention to taking care of her, and Kumasawa and Shannon are with him. Please, have no fears. Why not relax with some black tea for now? Come, Cannon-san. Quickly, quickly, serve it, serve it. Grumble. Cannon knew this tea was just Goda's ways of earning points, so he lined the cups up with a slightly sullen air. Ooh, I'll help too. It's okay. You can just wait there, Maria-sama. Ooh, I want to serve tea too. Didn't you talk with Dr. Nanjo? Did he say anything? Yes. When I met him a short while ago, he said that there weren't any serious external wounds, from what I could tell at a glance. And just as Goda had successfully captured the gazes of all present and was about to start talking knowledgeably on the subject, Nanjo returned. Of course, Nanjo instantly became the center of attention. Cannon turned his back on Goda, who seemed downhearted. Dr. Nanjo, how is her condition? Does it look like she'll be okay? Not to worry, everyone. She is fine. She had no injuries at all. She seems to be quite worn out, but there shouldn't be anything to worry about tonight as long as she doesn't develop a fever. That's good to hear. We're lucky enough to have a doctor, but this is no hospital. Everyone was relieved to hear that the girl was in good health when Nandro gave the more detailed results of his examination, concluding by saying that she was young and should therefore be fine. Everyone who no longer fell under this description nodded in assent. Ooh, boats really are scary. Fall, fall. Battler was right. Maria-chan, let's not tell Battler-kun about this. Oh, madam, Kraus-sama. Goda, who had lost his nerve and was handing out cups, called out in an excessively loud voice. Apparently he was that desperate to get everyone's attention. How is the guest? Yes, sir. Her condition is not serious. I see. That's great. Where is she now? I believe Kumasawa-san and Shannon-san were guiding her to the bath. They said they would get her some clothes afterwards. In that case, they'll probably arrive here soon. Everyone. This may be the day of the family conference, but we have a guest brought here by an unfortunate accident. She wasn't invited, but I want you all to welcome her. Who could disagree with that? I'm all for it. Same here. Didn't Mom always tell us to be nice to girls? Maybe, but you didn't need to make that your life's motto. Again, I think Kairi is very beautiful. It's probably best if we call George and the rest over here too. Let's all greet her together. But wouldn't that just make her more uncomfortable? Ava stood up and made a phone call to the guest house. At that moment, they heard the sound of a knock, followed by Genji's voice. It is Genji, the guest has arrived. At those words, everyone fell silent, and the people who had been sitting stood up straight. Genji came in first, opening the door slowly, then moved off to the side, bowing deeply and urging the guest forwards. The guest had Shannon and Kumasawa following by her side. Whose clothes were that originally? Such a... I know this is a serious moment, but I'm just like staring right at Shannon's tits. And even after seeing the large number of relatives waiting for her in the parlor, she didn't seem overawed in the slightest. Just this single point showed that this girl possessed a dignity appropriate for a guest invited in by the Ushiromiya family. Or maybe she's just like too tired to care. You know, there was a typhoon. Furuto-sama, allow me to introduce you. This is the representative of the Ushiromiya family head, Ushiromiya Kraus. Welcome to Rokkenjima. Though you arrived due to an accident, you are a guest of the family. We welcome you. Please make yourself at home and relax however you please. Thank you very much. Allow me to introduce myself. I am called Furuto Erika. My deepest apologies for disturbing you members of the Ushiromiya family like this. I am truly grateful for the warm welcome I've received despite my status as an uninvited guest. This was greeted by an impressed sigh arising equally from all corners of the room. The clothes she had been lent were probably Jessica's formal wear from long ago, but the composure of her introduction didn't shame those clothes in the slightest. The girl's name was Furuto Erika. She looked slightly younger than Battler and Jessica, and also like she needs to drink more milk. But her composure and mannerisms were beyond what anyone would have expected from a high schooler, almost as though she was a well-to-do family's daughter, and Lunar is making fun of her for being short. Because I'm an asshole. Wait a sec. Who the heck is this? With an incompetent like you as the main character piece, the game wouldn't go anywhere. That's why I've placed myself there as a piece. Well, it's just a bit of a bonus. Even in a closed circle, it'd get boring to see the same crew every single time, right? So Lambda, are you going to insert yourself into this story at some point too? So this means technically there's two versions of you now, like, quit messing around. This piece doesn't exist on Beato's game board. Beato and I won't acknowledge it. This is Beato's game board, right? If Beato refuses, then I'll consider it. What do you say, Beato? Sad noises. Beato was unable to answer. Lambda Delta grinned triumphantly. Want to try complaining about the rules and stepping down from the game? Isn't that a favorite move of you mystery people? If there's even a tiny element that goes against your expectations, you throw a tantrum and totally stop thinking. Don't worry, I'll make a detective proclamation regarding this piece. A detective proclamation. I proclaim that Furuto Erika is the detective. The detective isn't a culprit. No proof is needed to show this. In short, there is absolutely no need to suspect this girl. Even if she appears as a human piece from now on, you can build theories the same as you always did, get it? That's Nox's 7th, right? It is forbidden for the detective to be the culprit. There was an exception clause in the original, but for this game, the detective isn't a culprit has been proclaimed in red, so you don't need to consider the exception. I hate word games, so I'll say this in red too. Furuto Erika is not the culprit. Repeat it. Furuto Erika had no influence on any Beato's games before now. Sure, no problem. Furuto Erika had no influence on any of Beato's games before now. She's nothing more than an extra character who appears for the first time this round. She does not exist in the worlds before this one, nor does she influence them. So, what does that do to the number of people on this island right now? Of course, it's +1 from the previous number, but don't worry. Furuto Erika only increases it by one person. Besides her, the number of people on this island is exactly the same as it was in the previous games. At that time, the sound of the people dashing down a corridor could be heard. It was Battler, George, and Jessica who had come from the guest house after being called here by Ava. They immediately spotted a guest they didn't recognize, and their eyes went wide. Whoa, who are you? Ooh, a guest. She came by falling. Huh? Fall? Genji-san, who is this person? This is a guest, Furuto Erika-sama. Furuto-sama, this is the daughter of the family, Jessica-sama, along with her cousins, George-sama and Battler-sama. Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Ushiromiya Jessica. Hello, my name is Furuto Erika. I am very pleased to meet you. Though Battler, George, and Jessica didn't have a clue what was going on and were utterly bewildered, they each introduced themselves. Isn't that convenient? This way, the number of people is clear. The people in the guest house have joined up with the rest, and now all of the pieces except for Kinzo, all of the humans, have gathered in the parlor. Looks like it. In other words, the number of people in this parlor now is equal to the total number of people on this island. There were supposedly 18 people on the island, but since Grandfather's actually dead, that became 17, and now one piece of burned castells has been added. The number of humans on this island is returned to 18. I glanced around at the humans in the parlor. The guest, Furuto Erika, and behind her Kumasawa-san and Shannon-chan. Furuto Erika fell from the pleasure boat Eternal Maid 2. Mid-cruise, in the waters near Rokkanjima. On October 4th, 1986, she drifted to Rokkanjima and the Ushiromi family welcomed her as a guest. She managed to drift to the island unharmed thanks to several miracles, including the fact that she was wearing a life jacket. Well, we'll go and call the video there. Thank you for joining me, and I hope everyone out there is having a good day, and you have all the hugs and head pats you could ever want or need. Until next time, bye.